Mr. Isaac Anumudu, a legal practitioner, is still with us in the studio. Just before we went on break, you were talking about how the 2%, lawyers and judges, make up a certain, just 2%, and that there's a 98% that doesn't understand how...
The inner workings of the judiciary and judicial system.
So tell us about the inner workings.
Now, the expectation is that for the people out there, once you take the case to court, everything that happens depends on the judge. The judge simply sits, decides the case quickly, and gives judgment. So the question is, wait a minute, why is the case lasting for 1 year? Why 2 years? Why 3 years? Because they don't understand that it's not the problem of the judges. Apart from some of them having to go for their annual leave and public holidays that they are entitled to, most of them sit there Monday to Friday, and they're there. But for most of them, the court list runs into 50 cases in a day. For some, 60, 70 cases in a day. And this judge is one human being writing in longhand. There is a limit to what one person can do in a day. So if in a day he's only able to take 30 or 20 such cases, what happens to the remaining 30 on the list for that day? They will be adjourned. What if, like I said in one of the programs here in the past, what if there is a high profile, highly exposed individuals, high political personalities that have a case in that court, and they have a senior advocate coming with 5 other senior advocates and 10, 15, 20 other lawyers, and that case takes the whole day. What happens to the other cases? They are adjourned. What if the lawyers are the ones that are indisposed and have to ask for adjournment? What if it is even the complainant or the plaintiff himself that is not available to give evidence, and the court is adjourning to enable him, the requisite compos mentis, to come and give evidence? So there are so many vagaries that play itself out that leads to a so-called delay in the dispensation of justice. It's sometimes not the fault of the judges alone. That is not to say, please don't get me wrong, that there are no situations where we have lapses from the part of the judiciary. And the chief judge has recognized that. That's why he has advised persons who have reason to suspect that there has been bias in the management of their cases to write requisite petition to the NJC. In the states, the chief judges, the admin judges, they are there to handle that. And here, at the national level, the NJC is there, the state judicial service commissions are also there. You can write petitions, and they would look into it. Again, the timing of the looking into the petition depends on the nature and of the petition, depends on those involved. Sometimes you find the NJC having to write letters to get the complainant to come and give evidence, and those letters are returned because the address cannot be traced, because the person was not there, traveled, and they are going to and fro before even the so-called complainant comes to testify. Some of these things will not be brought to the public glare when there is now a delay in handling those matters. So I believe it's a work in progress. The good thing here is that you have the judiciary now is headed by a chief judge who has recognized these failings of the past, who has acknowledged them, who has not pretended about it or been diplomatic about it, and who has addressed them frontally and said, look, come up with such complaints, we're ready to deal with it. I think that should give Nigerians confidence to rely and trust the judiciary more than they've been doing before.
Well, let's take a question now from Chamberlain in Lagos.
Well, Mr. Anumudu, I'm just wondering, I mean, listening to you say that you have a number of people who do not understand the workings of the judiciary. If, in the case where they were accused of grafts and then several cases against them in the court, if they had, the judges now, if they had spokespersons who was able to speak on their behalf and explain certain things before the cases go to court, do you think that that in any way would address the part where he says they don't have opportunity to speak for themselves even before they go to the court?
Yeah, Chamberlain, you're right. I think the point you've just made now would be a very valid point of proposal for reform, some form of reform in the judicial sector. Because you know that just like our democracy and all of that, much of them are things copied from other jurisdictions. Our judiciary particularly is tailored after the English judicial system, you know, from borrowing their common law and all of that. And in that system, judges are more like supposed to be seen and not heard. Judges are supposed to be extra conservative. And if you look at even the last incidents, not just when they were even alleged, maligned, accused, but even when they were bundled and arrested, recently, just what happened last year, it took the intervention of some of us to raise alarm and to say, wait a minute, this is blackmail, this is intimidation of the judiciary. Before some of the judges, a few of them, now had the courage to come open, to start even dropping names of those politicians who even tried to approach them, tried to influence them, and that it was their refusal to respond to the rapprochement that led to their being blackmailed and arrested and intimidated for corruption. We wouldn't have known that if that was not such a landmark invasion called sting operation. And if some of us didn't come out to express strong reservation against that attempt to intimidate the judiciary. That's why you saw some of the judges being compelled to speak out. Even at that, there are still some conservative colleagues of theirs who felt that they should just have kept quiet. Let the judicial system vindicate them. But how would Nigerians know what is happening if there is no explanation? So I think I agree with you, Chamberlain, that it might be something the present chief judge might need to note in the ongoing reform that he's doing in judiciary. Just like the executive have their spokesman, the president has this media, special advisor of media, minister of communication, then there is also a special assistant media, the vice president has, the senate president has, the speaker house of rep has, and even the senators, all of them have legislative aides that handle their media and all of that. If it is important for legislature and judiciary, I think it's also important for the, legislature and executive, I think it's also important for the judiciary to have a well-orchestrated media machine, not for propaganda, but to adequately enlighten the populace as to its inner workings, so as to, take away the risk of, rumors, propaganda, suspicions, so that Nigerians understand how these things work and not feel that judges are corrupt, judges are lazy, judges sit down there, they're not doing anything, and justice is being delayed. When some of us know that some of these judges sit up till 4 p.m., some sit beyond 4 p.m., and those of them who are handling election tribunals and other specialized matters sometimes even sit at weekends and on public holidays just to expedite justice. And yet they are accused of delaying justice. They are accused of all manner of things. So it is also not only in the interest of the judiciary, but in the interest of Nigerian populace for there to be adequate enlightenment so that we can have the right mindset. That is the only way we will accord the appropriate respect to the judiciary, thereby encouraging very brilliant people to join the bench, because that's also a very fundamental issue where you have brilliant, intelligent, young, dynamic, proactive lawyers being reluctant to join the bench because the pay they think is inadequate, the reputation is being battered left, right, and center, so they're not encouraged. But if we have a situation where the judiciary is given the right image, it will make it attractive for very brilliant people, very cerebral people to come in and help in the distribution of justice. That's my take on that.
Well, definitely, it's a nice place to leave it. Mr. Anumudu, we have to thank you very much. We hope that the judiciary will take on that recommendation of perhaps getting a spokesperson so that, majority of the populace, 98% as you put it, will be enlightened as to the inner workings of the judiciary. Well, that will be it for this segment. Sunrise Daily will take a moment now. That's not before I tell you who Mr. Anumudu is. He's a legal practitioner, and we already thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily.
Thank you for having me.
The program will continue shortly. Please stay with us.